Just roll the goddamn intro.
There has been an awakening. Have you felt it? The dark side. And the light.
I was confident. I trusted EA. I thought that maybe after all the backlash they got from the Battlefront reboot, then maybe they had learned their lesson. And up until a few weeks before release, everything was splendid. And then shit hit the fan. No, diarrhea hit the fan. Kids joke aside, EA fucked up really bad this time. In fact, it received one of the most disastrous backlashes in the history of gaming. The reaction was so huge, everyone talked about it, from TV to official governments. But you know what? Fuck it. You already know about this shit. So let's try and give some constructive criticism, okay? I've decided to tackle the multiplayer part of the game not by simply reviewing it, but by giving constructive criticism. Let's start in order. Is the game a bad game to play? Absolutely not. It's a fun shooter with very sharp controls, a pretty fast gameplay, and 3 different abilities you can use in battle. The classes are pretty standard, but they all work effectively and they encourage people to try different playstyles or concentrate on one. You can choose either a first or third person perspective, but first person is shit as you automatically zoom your weapon. You can rapidly dodge by only pressing a button, so 1v1 firefights aren't always in favor of the player that spots the other first. You have land vehicles and spaceships, and both are really fun to use, especially spaceships. The controls are very on point, and your evasion options aren't that limited, as in this game you can finally roll. What I really liked was that every single spaceship has different parameters, as in different speed, different maneuverability, and a different feel to controlling it. So, the gameplay is phenomenal, much better than the already good 2015 Battlefront gameplay. Things are faster, less floatier, and ship combat finally feels good. Next, let's examine the whole package. From the outside, it looks as it's filled to the brim with content, but in reality, not so much. The single player campaign was something I was really looking forward to play, as I couldn't wait to finally play a Star Wars themed story with 2017 graphics and innovations. Well, I forgot that this is still a DICE game, and it took only 2 years to make, or something like that. And the campaign was as lazy and boring as ever. I mean, even the story was awful. The Star Wars universe is huge, the possibilities were endless. But no, they just had to make it on the original trilogy, as if it was a completely new idea. I am getting so sick of the original trilogy at this point, it's disgusting. The last Battlefront was, as we all know, only original trilogy. Rogue One was a good movie, sure, but the aesthetic style was already seen a million times. Anyway, the campaign was lame. The gameplay was pretty shallow, as it was just a repetitive cycle of cutscene, walking around while dialogue is being spoken that you can't hear because the volume of the rest of the game is so loud, shooting gallery, rinse and repeat. Oh, and it was just designed horribly by having a part where you have to protect your ally in every single mission. I mean, it already wasn't fun in 2005, it certainly isn't fun now. The plot, while interesting at first, devolved into the most cliched thing ever. You realize the Empire is bad and you become a rebel. Oops, spoilers. I don't give a fuck. Anyone could have seen that a mile away. But the worst part is that the protagonist you play as, Aiden Versio, just changes sides. No explanations given. The characters were just the fucking worst. They don't even have a bit of characterization or backstory to them. When in the mini DLC campaign, Aiden dies, you don't give a shit. Oops, spoiler again. Anyway, forgettable campaign, so much missed opportunity, and even the concept of DLC campaigns was so promising, but the base foundation just isn't there. The meat of the game is obviously the multiplayer, and that too is full of problems. So let's analyze them one by one. Two things are very important in an online multiplayer shooter: the gameplay and the maps. I have always said this. If the gameplay is bad, the whole game is fucked from the beginning, and you can't do anything to fix the problem. However, in this case, the maps in Star Wars Battlefront 2 are some of the worst I've played in any shooter. Now, I'm definitely not an expert in level design, but I can tell you why I think the large majority of maps are bad. Let's take Naboo for example. So, in the first part of the match, the map could seem huge, while in reality it's only very long. The central corridor, which occupies about half of the space, is off limits for everyone who has a death wish of being picked off by enemy snipers. The lateral areas are kinda complex in that they have some building and corridors that make for okay choke points, as you can still go around the enemy position and surprise them from behind. The main problem in this part is that for how big it seems, the parts in which you actually play are very limited. So 90% of the time you're wandering around empty space. Compare that to Battlefield, where you can have a firefight literally everywhere and you can see the limitations Battlefront 2 has. Then second phase arrives, where you try and get into the palace. And oh god, is this part frustrating as hell. If you are the droid army, you are always on the losing side. That's because to conquer the two rooms to advance to the final phase, you have to pass in only two very tight corridors, and that is why I have never gone past the second phase. Having two choke points where there are lasers firing everywhere and bodies piled up to the ceiling is a problem in almost every map of this game. Okay, so basically the design of every map is like this. That's not good map design. This is what needs to change. We need new maps every now and then, sure, but then we also need reworks. Not redoing the entire things, just stuff like adding in extra routes here and there, to not let every game finish in a choke point. Battlefront 1 had only 4 maps, but at least they were fun to play in. DICE, get your shit together. We need to choose our goddamn maps. Games from 20 years ago had this option. Okay, so free DLC is great. It's awesome. Having DICE keep the game fresh every now and then and not splitting the player base is the best thing a multiplayer game could have. Rainbow Six Siege, I love you. But the problem is, having these DLCs arrive pretty frequently. I'm not talking about a massive update every 2 months, but having at least 3 or 4 expansions a year, with each one bringing a new map, new weapons, new heroes, and possibly even new modes, is what I hope DICE will do. I think that they should now focus especially on prequel stuff, since it's the least represented era, and it's the best. Why the fuck isn't Ben Swallow an official skin? Okay, so speaking of skins, this game really needs them. Hell, every multiplayer game needs them. You need to be able to customize your character as much as you want, so everybody can see your awesome pink Darth Vader. Okay, so EA say they only want skins that stay true to the lore. Sure, you still have a ton of opportunities for heroes, and for the normal troopers, customization should be endless. Even 2015 Battlefront had at least different faces and species. Also, getting those customization items would mean getting even more shit in loot crates. Isn't that what you always wanted, EA? This game needs serious balancing. Every multiplayer game needs it, but this game was shipped in a horribly unequal state. I am not talking about the weapons, but everything else. Star cards are obviously really fucking stupid, and some of them are broken as hell. So, star cards have 4 levels to them, and the difference between a level 1 card and a level 4 one is enormous. But since this is not a competitive but a light and casual shooter, I can kind of forgive it. However, the spawn points, the vehicles, the battle point system, objective health points, everything seems it was under tested. Only now they're starting to patch everything up, more than 2 months from launch. Speaking of updates, let's go right into my next point. In this day and age, community engagement is everything. EA's PR department is a fucking train wreck. After the shit show that was the first month after launch, EA was suddenly shrouded in silence. No word from them was ever heard from. Only a few developers who have to shoulder the weight of an entire subreddit of complaints and requests. And yet, the situation has not improved. It is fucking amazing what EA is doing, and they are being complete and total losers. Fuck them! No, you know what? Fuck this game. Fuck microtransactions becoming part of the game. Most importantly, fuck EA. I'm out.